I was lucky and I suppose obstinate, because when I started, when I finished my work, my collection of stories, and I was also at the same time writing my novel, they were both set in Dar es Salaam. And I was 100% sure that no publisher anywhere else in the world would find it interesting, so I didn't even bother. I sent it to the African Writers Series. And for me that meant a lot, because as I said, Achebe came to our school, he was the first editor of the African Writers Series, and those orange and white covers, they were almost a symbolic meaning for us, for people of my generation. So I sent it to them, and coincidentally, although that was not the reason, they're very conservative, so Heinemann, there were a lot of financial problems. But it also turned out that the publisher at Heinemann's African Writers Series was a English woman who had gone to the International School of Tanzania. But she sent it to be evaluated by some other African writers. One of them was Abdulrazak Gurna. So I somehow lucked out, because I decided not to send it to a Canadian publisher or any other British publisher. I sent it to African Writers Series, and they knew exactly what I was writing about, and they still took their time. That's when my beard started going white. That was but they published it, bought those books, and it made a difference.
How long did it take? Just curious.
I mean, for them to decide? I think 1.5 years or something. Until finally, I was a physicist then. I went to Antwerp, and then I told them, I'm coming to London, can I come and see you? So they started worrying. The guy's going to come now, we make up our minds. And they gave me a very tiny sum of money, I can tell you, I can get more money just by writing an article now. And for my whole penny sack, that's what they gave me. I said, okay. As I said, you don't write for money, you write because you have to write. Yeah, I think when you start out, you have an editor, and since you are so grateful to the editor for agreeing to publish, especially if it's a larger press, then you more or less, well, I will not say go along, but there's a tendency to go along. But I've had big fights with my editors, because for me every word matters, and sometimes you compromise. And I remember it 10 years later, that this word I changed, I shouldn't have. And then later I moved to another publisher, whose editor sort of left me alone, except for making suggestions. The first editor, and I think a young author needs a strong editor in the beginning, because sometimes authors come with all kinds of fancy notions that this is my work and so on, but they don't. There are some things that after a while are obvious. That some mistakes that all beginning writers make. Simple ones like repeating a word, or that's a common mistake, unless you really thought about it. So you need a strong editor initially, but then after a while I thought, enough, I've learned. But then I think that by the time you reach that, then you know what you are about anyway. I think traditionally, there's a traditional pros and cons is that self-publishing, or people always say, oh yeah, he published herself or himself. So there is a sense of, because others rejected you. Of course, the world has changed since then. Now you can go to Amazon and self-publish. The problem there is, of course, partly what was traditional, in the sense that it's not vetted. And there is still the sense that it does not belong to a mainstream. But it's not necessarily true, especially in the United States. People can write bestsellers that are But to find acceptance in the academies, in the schools, in the review system, we still have this sense that self-publishing is not quite it, And then who's going to edit it, and how well has it been edited? It does not mean that a self-published work is not well edited. Generally, even if it's the best edited work, you are along with all those cranks, who think they're geniuses. And how do you separate? How do you want to be in the same company? With all these people who think they're geniuses, they're Tolstoy or whatever, and they keep churning out books at Amazon and sell it to their friends. So that's the problem. But as a last resort, I wouldn't by all means. Especially, I've advised people from Tanzania who wrote memoirs. But the memoirs set in Tanzania, however important they are historically, the rest of the world doesn't give a damn. Then by all means go to Amazon and publish it, and there are people who will discover it. But if it's fiction, then you have to be careful. It's good to be part of a literary movement, and then at least you know your worth, and then do it. I think there's no other way. Even before Amazon, people used to publish what they call chapbooks. Yeah? But they showed it to a certain group of people they respected, and they became known and commented on and so on. You can do that. But it has to be done with care. I know the world is changing, but at some point you have to make sure that, as I say, you're not part of the world of cranks. But there are millions of those. Everyone is a genius. I don't know. I think certainly my essay, my talks, those some are published, some are not. When I have to give a talk, I write something up and then I work on it. At some point I want them published, but I haven't. Some are published separately. I have a journal that I keep, occasional journal, which for the last 30 years I have not published.